Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so let us continue with topic number 6 from chapter 9, which is case study. But before we do that, let's look at some certain things that I may have explained slightly wrongly from the previous topic on observation. If you notice, in all of the disadvantages of the types of observational research, it says that we cannot infer the cause and effect. Okay, in naturalistic, here we have same thing, and then we have control observation. We also have cause and effect cannot be inferred, and then we also have the same disadvantage in the participant observation. Now, what does this mean? Right. Basically, an observational research cannot be used to infer cause and effect, because cause and effect, if you still remember, it's something that we do or that we measure in an experimental research, where we would have an independent variable that can be manipulated, and then we measure the dependent variable. Right? We don't have those because we are merely observing. Right? We are not manipulating any variables here. Right? For example, if you remember the experimental research, the effect of wearing different shoes and running speed. So we can see the cause and effect because we manipulate the cause, which is the independent variable, or to be exact, in this example, the different running shoes or the different shoes that is wear to the effect of running speed. Now, an example of an observational research would be to observe homeless people, right, in terms of them scratching themselves. Why do they scratch themselves? Is it because they live in a dirty environment, or is it because they are wearing dirty clothes? Right? These are probable variables that can be done or that can be experimented on. So when you experiment this, it becomes an experimental research. But since this is an observational research, we do not manipulate all this, because what we're doing is we are just observing. So all these findings of why they scratch themselves will be used in a future experimental research. Okay, so let's continue with case study. So your book starts by mentioning Piaget and Vygotsky. Now, who are they? Okay, maybe we'll explain a bit in brief later on. But what is a case? What's a case study? Now, a case study in the social and life sciences is a research method involving an up-close, in-depth, and detailed examination of a particular case. Right? It is a detailed study of a specific subject, such as a person, a group, a place, an event, an organization, or a phenomenon. Say, for example, the case study of we have a person with Down syndrome in section 903. So we are studying the case of that particular person only. It can also be an event. This type of study is mostly used in law, okay, especially when they study the case of certain crime. Right? They will have a case study of Monofendi, the case study of, or the trials of Najib, right, with the 1MDB and so on and so forth. Now, the reason why they mention Jean Piaget and Vygotsky is because they are trying to carry you towards a discussion about cognitive development for students. Alright, John Piaget John Piaget and Vygotsky are known psychologists on their works for the study of psychological development in children. They both had differences in their ideas. Not important in our discussion, because we're not learning about Piaget or Vygotsky's philosophy or idea. Now, why are we studying cases? Because much can be learned from studying just one individual, one classroom, one school, or one school district. For instance, there are students who learn a second language rather easily. Alright, so if you have a person who learn a second language, for example, English, rather easily, so you study that person in detail. How does this person acquire the language easily as compared to the rest of the other students? Right? So that is what it means by a case study. Okay, so let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of a case study. Right? The advantages is it would have a limited focus, and it allows, because of that, it allows a detailed examination of a subject, because you focus particularly on a few cases, right? And then because of that, you allow detailed examination of the subject, right? And then in the case study, you can use several different techniques to gather the data. You can use interviews, you can collect empirical data, you can conduct surveys, can use a lot of methods to gather data. You can also do observations, right? And then it's the best way to gather detailed information about a subject. Okay, say for example you you study the case of people who suffered or who had Down syndrome. So because you focus on those who have Down syndrome, it's a you will gather detailed information about the subject. And then it can also suggest directions for future research. Now, the disadvantages of a case study is, number one, it's time consuming, right? Because studying a case requires a lot of time. Okay, if you study the case of a particular crime, right, you have to follow every single moment of the trial of the crime, right? Okay, second one is it is subject to bias in observing and recording data, because the natural instinct of a human being is to be biased, right? What the analysis would be is subject to bias of the researcher, right? And then the disadvantages will also include that it cannot demonstrate the cause and effect relationship, because you're not manipulating the variables, you're not experimenting, you are just studying cases. And lastly, you will have limited generalizability, because you are unable to generalize an idea because you are focusing only on a particular case or a particular subject. Right, so thank you very much.